Peppa Pig. Peppa goes ice skating. I'd like to buy this book. Check in the link description down below. Today, Peppa and George are going ice skating. They have not been skating before. Don't worry, George, says Peppa. Ice skating looks easy. I'll show you how to do it. Well, first we need some skates, says Mummy Pig. 4 pairs of skates, please, Miss Rabbit. There you go, says Miss Rabbit. Happy skating. Peppa's friends are skating today too. They are all very good. Shall I teach you how to skate, Peppa? Asks Susie Sheep. No, thank you, replies Peppa. I'm sure I can already do it. But ice skating is not as easy as it looks. Oof! Peppa falls onto the bottom of the ice. Ouch! Ice skating is too hard, cries Peppa. I don't want to do it anymore. Never mind, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. Everyone falls over when they are learning how to skate. Mummy Pig shows Peppa what to do. It's easy, she says. You just push with your feet and glide. See? Soon Peppa is skating all by herself. Look at me, she shouts. I'm skating! Ice skating is fun! Whee! Come on, George, says Peppa. Now I'll teach you how to skate. But George doesn't need Peppa's help. Look at George, cries Mummy Pig. He can skate beautifully. Yes, George, you did very well for your first lesson, says Peppa. Peppa and George love ice skating. Everyone loves ice skating. Mummy taught me to skate, says Peppa, but I taught George. The end. Peppa Pig Learning to Share. If you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. One bright summer morning, Peppa and her friends are all at the playground. Candy Cat is on the tire swing. Pedro Pony is going down the slide. Peppa, Susie Sheep and Danny Dog are on the merry-go-round. Can you spin us really fast? Peppa asks Daddy Pig. Peppa's little brother, George, is at the playground too. George is a bit too young for the merry-go-round. Mummy Pig pushes him on the swing instead. Hiya, says George. Not too high, George, says Mummy Pig. Squeak, squeak. Here are Rebecca Rabbit and her little brother, Richard Rabbit. They have come to play. Richard has brought his toy dinosaur. Can I go on the merry-go-round too? Rebecca asks. Of course, says Daddy Pig. Hop on. Hee hee, Rebecca laughs. Let's go really, really fast. Squeak, squeak. Richard thinks the merry-go-round looks fun too. In fact, he wants to hop on. Aww, groans Peppa. If Richard gets on, it means we can't go fast. Richard is little, just like George. He is too young to go fast on the merry-go-round. It's okay, says Rebecca. Richard can play with George instead. No, says Richard. He wants to play with the big kids. George has a dinosaur just like yours, Mummy Rabbit tells Richard. Let's go and see. George holds up his green dinosaur. Dinosaur, he says. Richard holds up his red dinosaur. Grrr, he growls. George and Richard both love dinosaurs. That gives Mummy Pig and Mummy Rabbit an idea. George, can Richard play with your dinosaur? Mummy Pig asks. No, says George. Richard, Can George play with your dinosaur? Asks Mummy Rabbit. No, says Richard. George and Richard do not want to share. George, it will be much more fun playing together if you share, says Mummy Pig. She takes Mr. Dinosaur and gives him to Richard. Richard likes holding both dinosaurs, but George is not happy. Wah! He cries. Richard, that was really nice of George, says Mummy Rabbit. Now, let him hold the dinosaurs. She gives the dinosaurs to George. Wah! Cries Richard. Sharing doesn't seem like much fun at all. George smashes Richard's sandcastle with his shovel. Then Richard smashes George's sandcastle with his shovel. Wah! They cry. Oh dear, this does not seem to be working. How can George and Richard learn to play together nicely? Says Mummy Pig. I have an idea. George, what's your favourite thing in the whole playground? Mummy Pig asks. Seesaw, says George. George loves the seesaw, but he can't play on the seesaw on his own. He needs a friend to play with him. Squeak, squeak. George and Richard have lots of fun playing together on the seesaw. Mummy Pig's idea worked. George and Richard have learned that playing together is fun, especially when they both share the fun with a friend. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa Goes Dancing. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. Peppa, Susie Sheep, Mandy Mouse and Rebecca Rabbit are practicing their dance for Mr. Potato's Super Fantastic Dance Competition. If we keep practicing, we might win a prize, says Peppa, doing her best dance moves. Snack time, calls Daddy Pig. Remember, we have to keep practicing all the time, says Peppa, dancing to the kitchen. You need a break so you have energy for your dancing, says Daddy Pig. After their snacks, Peppa and her friends show Mummy and Daddy Pig their dance routine in the garden. George practices his dinosaur dance too. Mummy and Daddy clap loudly. Wow, what a super fantastic dancers you are, says Mummy Pig. There's a dance competition for mummies and daddies too, Peppa tells Mummy Pig. There is, says Mummy Pig. Maybe we should practice too, Daddy Pig. Okay, says Daddy Pig nervously. The next day, Peppa and her family and friends go to the theatre for the competition. First, George performs his dinosaur dance. Next, Peppa, Susie, Mandy and Rebecca take to the stage. The dance goes perfectly. Well done, everyone, says Mr. Potato. He thinks all the children are super fantastic dancers. He gives George the best dinosaur dance prize and Peppa's group wins the most practiced dance trophy. Now, for my favourite part, announced Mr. Potato, the mummies and daddies dance. Come on, Daddy Pig, says Mummy Pig. Let's dance. Look, George, Peppa gasps. Mummy and Daddy Pig are the most super fantastic dancers ever. Peppa and George love dancing. Everyone loves dancing. The end. Peppa Pig, Super Peppa. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. There's a surprise visitor at Peppa's playgroup today. It's Super Potato. By the power of vegetables, I am here, shouts Super Potato. Wow, Peppa says she loves Super Potato. Super Potato has lots of amazing powers. Candy Cat wants to know how he can run so fast. That's a good question. I would say from eating Brussels sprouts, Super Potato replies. Super Potato can also fly. He uses his cape to soar through the skies. Peppa loves to watch Super Potato on television. At home, Peppa can't stop talking about the Super Potato. She thinks she's the coolest visitor ever. When I grow up, I want to be super, just like Super Potato, Peppa tells Mummy Pig. Mummy Pig replies. She gets an idea. Mummy takes Peppa to Daddy Pig's muddy puddle jumping competition. Daddy Pig leaps up high into the air and lands with a perfect splash. Wow, Daddy, Peppa cries, you're a super puddle jumper. Peppa thinks that jumping high is definitely a superpower. Peppa leaps high into the air and makes a big splash. The crowd gets covered in mud and they cheer. Next, Peppa visits Mrs. Rabbit. She follows Mrs. Rabbit from one task to the next. They race from the supermarket to the fire station to the museum. And then to the movie theatre. After that, Miss Rabbit takes some visitors for a helicopter ride. And she and Peppa give everyone yummy ice cream cones. Wow, Miss Rabbit, you're super at everything, Peppa says as Miss Rabbit drives everyone home in the train. If you work hard, you can be a super at anything, says Miss Rabbit. But back at home, Peppa's worried. But Daddy Pig is super at jumping and Miss Rabbit is super at so many things, Peppa says. But I don't feel super at anything. Maybe I'll never be a superhero. Being super isn't just about having superpowers, says Mummy. Today, you gave everyone ice cream and spent time with Daddy Pig. You made everyone happy. That's what being super is about. Mummy Pig is right. Peppa might not be able to fly or run fast, but she can always try her best, work hard and do nice things for others. The next day at the playgroup, Peppa shows in a superhero costume. But I'm not a superhero, says Peppa. But I am super Peppa. All of the other children want to be super just like Peppa, so she helps them do super things, like play with one another and share toys. Every day we can be a little more super, Peppa says. We just need to practice and try really hard. The children cheer. They love being super. Everyone loves being super. The end. Peppa Pig, the Tooth Fairy. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. Once upon a time, there was a very clever little pig named Peppa. She was very proud of her teeth. Peppa and her brother George needed to take care of their teeth. They brushed them every morning and every evening. Peppa and George loved pretending dentist. Peppa would pretend to be the dentist and George would pretend to be her assistant. George, the toy dinosaur, was a patient. What lovely clean teeth you have, Mr. Dinosaur, Peppa smiled. Grrr, said George. One day after playing the dentist game, Peppa and George were eating their dinner. Suddenly, something fell onto Peppa's plate. It made Peppa jump. What's that? She asked. Ho ho, it's a tooth, Daddy Pig laughed. But where is it from? Peppa asked. Why don't you look in the mirror? Said Mummy Pig. Peppa looked. She had a big gap in her teeth. Oh no, Peppa cried. Do we need to go to see Dr. Elephant? Ho ho ho. No, said Mummy Pig. It's just a baby tooth. It's meant to fall out. A baby tooth? What's that? Asked Peppa. A baby tooth is a tooth that falls out when you're young, explained Mummy Pig. A new one will grow in its place. What should I do with my baby tooth? Asked Peppa. If you place it under your pillow, the Tooth Fairy will come. She will take your tooth and leave a new shiny coin, said Mummy Pig. That evening, while Peppa watched television with her family, she kept thinking about the Tooth Fairy. When I grow up, I want to be a Tooth Fairy, said Peppa. Daddy chuckled. What about you, George? Asked Daddy. George pointed at his dinosaur. Dinosaur, he growled. Come on, George, shouted Peppa. We don't want to miss a tooth fairy. They both ran up the stairs to get ready for bed. What are you doing? Asked Daddy Pig. Peppa was carefully brushing her baby tooth. I want it to be nice and clean for the tooth fairy, said Peppa. Peppa tucked the tooth under her pillow. Are you sure the tooth fairy will be able to find it? She asked. I promise, said Mummy Pig. Just you wait and see. Good night, Peppa and George. Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy. I'm going to wait all night for the tooth fairy, Peppa said. George, let's not go to sleep. George smiled and nodded. Peppa waited and waited. She could hear something. Is that the tooth fairy? Peppa wondered. George, she whispered, did you hear that? Can you see the tooth fairy? She climbed down to look at George. He was fast asleep. It was him making the noise. What was that? It was a tooth fairy. Hello, Peppa, she whispered. Would you like a coin in exchange for your tooth? The tooth fairy gently took Peppa's tooth from out of the pillow and put a shiny coin in its place. What a lovely clean tooth, the fairy said. Thank you very much. The next morning, Peppa found a shiny coin under her pillow. Mummy, the tooth fairy did come after all, she shouted, jumping up and down. Oh, I wish I had seen a tooth fairy, Peppa sighed. Next time I'm definitely going to stay awake all night. The end. Peppa Pig's Ballet Lesson. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. Mummy Pig is taking Peppa to her first ballet lesson. Madame Gazelle greets them at the door. You must be young, Peppa, she says with a graceful bow. Hello, madam, says Peppa. Mummy kisses Peppa goodbye. I'll pick you up later. Enjoy yourself. Peppa's friends Candy Cat, Susie Sheep, Danny Dog, Rebecca Rabbit and Pedro Pony are all ready inside. Madame Gazelle claps her hands. Today we will have a new pupil, Peppa Pig. It is time for the ballet lesson to begin. We will start with a little jump, says Madame Gazelle. A petit jeté. Peppa watches as Madame Gazelle shows everyone how to jump like a ballerina. Leap with grace and beauty, Madame Gazelle tells the dancers. Peppa and her friends try the little jump. Their feet make a loud noise as they hit the floor. Let's try it again, says Madame Gazelle. Petit jeté. Grace and beauty. Peppa and her friends jump some more. The students are not as graceful as Madame Gazelle, but everyone is having fun. Madame Gazelle turns into music and claps her hands. Children, now let's pretend to dance like we are beautiful swans. What noise do you think a swan might make? Asks Madame Gazelle. Peppa and her friends don't know what a noise a swan makes, so they all make their own noise. Their dance lesson is finished. Mummy Pig comes to take Peppa home. Peppa did very well, Madame Gazelle says. Thank you, madam. Peppa is very happy. At home, Peppa wants to show her family what she has learned. I'm going to teach you how to do ballet, Peppa announces. Is it difficult? Asks Daddy Pig. You must copy exactly what I do, says Peppa. Madame Gazelle used funny words, but it's just bending your knees and jumping, really. Peppa turns on some music and shows Mummy, Daddy and George how to do a little jump. Daddy Pig smiles. Ah, the petit jeté. Daddy, you know the funny word. Ho, ho, ho. Mummy Pig and I used to be very good at ballet, says Daddy. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig dance together. He lifts her up just like a ballerina.
Our favourite dance was the pas-de-deux, Daddy says. He tosses Mummy high up into the air. That's a dance for two people. Oh dear, Daddy doesn't catch Mummy in time. She lands on top of him. That wasn't quite how I remembered it, says Daddy Pig.
Silly Daddy Pig.
Maybe we should leave the ballet to Peppa, Daddy Pig says.
Yes, says Peppa. I am the best at it. I am like a beautiful swan.
Peppa loves dancing. Everyone loves dancing. The end. Peppa Pig, I love you, Mummy Pig. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. It was very early in the morning and Peppa and George had woken up Daddy Pig and dragged him to the kitchen. We want to make Mummy a surprise breakfast, said Peppa excitedly. Oh, yawned Daddy Pig. Well, I am an expert at making pancakes.
Yippee, cheered Peppa. Mummy loves pancakes.
Upstairs, Mummy Pig was in bed. She could hear lots of noise.
Oops! Mummy, shouted Peppa. We need you, Mummy.
Mummy Pig got out of bed and went downstairs.
We're making you a surprise breakfast, Mummy, explained Peppa, but it went a bit wrong.
Surprise, mumbled Daddy Pig.
How lovely, said Mummy Pig, smiling. Why don't you tidy up the mess, said Mummy Pig, and I'll finish the breakfast.
Mummy Pig tossed the pancakes high up into the air and straight onto everyone's plates.
Wow, Mummy, Peppa and George cheered. You're amazing.
And these are delicious, added Daddy Pig, tucking in. After breakfast, Peppa whispered to Daddy Pig,
Let's take Mummy to the beach.
Great idea, Peppa, whispered Daddy Pig. It is her favourite.
Mummy, cried Peppa, we're taking you on a surprise trip.
How lovely, replied Mummy Pig. I'll just get my things. Mummy packed her bag, then everyone hopped in the car.
Let's go, cheered Peppa.
Oh, how lovely, said Mummy Pig, stepping out of the car. The beach in the snow.
Oh, sighed Peppa. It's very cold.
Not to worry, said Mummy Pig. She pulled out nice warm clothes for everyone and then a table, some chairs and lots of toys.
Thank you, Mummy, said Peppa.
Peppa built a snow castle while George and Daddy played catch. You relax, Mummy, said Daddy Pig. George, catch! The ball flew through the air and was about to land on Peppa's snow castle.
Mummy, shouted Peppa.
We need you, Mummy. Mummy Pig jumped up and caught the ball just in time.
Ooh! Wow, Mummy, gasped Peppa. You're brilliant.
How about we have a nice lunch, suggested Daddy Pig, getting the picnic things out. But just as everyone was about to eat, there was a great gust of wind. The food whipped off the table and up into the air.
Mummy!
cried Peppa.
We need you, Mummy!
Mummy Pig grabbed the umbrella and used it to catch the picnic food.
Wow, Mummy, gasped Peppa. You're so clever.
Let's throw snowballs into the sea, said Peppa after they had eaten. So Daddy Pig, Peppa and George headed off to the sea while Mummy Pig read her book. Daddy Pig and Peppa had lots of fun. But when it was George's turn, he accidentally threw Mr. Dinosaur into the sea instead.
Wah!
sobbed George, watching his dinosaur float away.
Mummy, cried Peppa. We need you, Mummy.
Mummy Pig ran towards the edge. She saw Mr. Dinosaur pull off her coat and dived into the cold sea to get him.
Ooh,
she gasped. It's a little chilly. She swam over to Mr. Dinosaur, then picked him up and swam quickly back to the shore. Dinosaur! Grrr, growled George happily. Wow, Mummy, said Peppa, you're so brave. Peppa, George and Daddy Pig dried Mummy Pig with towels, and soon she was nice and warm. I think it's time to head home, said Daddy Pig. Good idea, agreed Mummy Pig, packing up their things. Goodbye, snowy beach, sang Peppa all the way home. After dinner, Mummy and Daddy Pig helped Peppa and George get ready for bed. Then they tucked them in with a story. Good night, Peppa. Good night, George, said Mummy Pig. Good night, bestest Mummy in the whole world, giggled Peppa. Mummy and Daddy Pig headed down the stairs. But just as they sat down, they heard Peppa shout, Mummy, we need you, Mummy. So Mummy Pig went back upstairs. Yes, Peppa? I love you, Mummy, said Peppa, giving Mummy Pig a great big hug. Love you, Mummy, said George, and he gave her a great big hug too. I love you both, said Mummy Pig, very much. Now good night, and I'll see you in the morning. This is for you, said Daddy Pig, giving Mummy Pig a big present. Mummy Pig opened it to find a great big bar of chocolate inside. Ooh, thank you, she said, delighted. Then she unwrapped the bar and saw that someone had already had a little nibble. Daddy Pig, she said, smiling. Daddy Pig looked very guilty and went bright red. I love you, Mummy Pig. The end. Peppa Pig and the Great Vacation. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. Peppa Pig and George are packing to go on a vacation. You can't bring everything, says Daddy Pig. But we need all our toys, says Peppa. Just your favourite, said Daddy Pig. Peppa brings Teddy. George brings his dinosaur. Dinosaur, grrr, says George. Can Goldie come too? Asks Peppa. Sorry, Peppa. Goldie can't join us, but Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig will look after her. The car is packed and the family is on the road. When will we get there? Calls Peppa from the back seat. Daddy Pig tells Peppa that they have a long drive. They head out to the countryside and on to a rented vacation house near the ocean. At the vacation house, Mummy Pig unpacks a suitcase. She bought a lot of things. I miss Goldie, says Peppa. Do you think she's all right? I think so, says Mummy Pig. Peppa calls Grandpa Pig just to make sure. The next morning, it is a very sunny and warm, perfect day for a walk, says Daddy Pig. Daddy, you found the pool, calls Peppa. Yes, says Daddy Pig, I did. Mummy Pig goes shopping in town. Peppa and George wants to have pizza for lunch. Mummy Pig has found some presents for Granny Pig and Grandad Pig. That won't fit in your suitcase, says Daddy Pig. I want to get something too, says Peppa. I hope it's small, says Daddy Pig. It is, says Peppa. It's a postcard and it doesn't have to go in a suitcase. It will go in the mail. The next day, Peppa and the family go on a nature walk. Daddy Pig has packed a big picnic lunch. There's nothing here but trees, says Peppa. Look around, Peppa, says Mummy Pig. There is lots to see here. Peppa looks around. Tracks, she says. I see tracks. Dinosaur? Asks George. No, George, not dinosaur tracks, says Peppa. The tracks come to an end. Peppa gets Daddy Pig's binoculars and look up. I see birds, a mother and baby in a nest. Peppa likes looking through the binoculars. Next she looks down. I see ants, she says. They're carrying leaves for lunch. Ant salad. Yuck, says George. Peppa is hungry, so are Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig and George. Time for a nice picnic lunch. Peppa can't wait to tell Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig what a nice day they had on the nature walk. That evening, Peppa calls Grandpa Pig. He promises to tell Goldie that Peppa misses her and that she will be home soon. "We're taking good care of her," he says. The next day, Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig take Peppa and George to the beach. It's a sandy beach with lots of rocks. Peppa finds a shell. George finds a fossil. Daddy Pig finds a crab. "There's a tide pool," says Peppa. Peppa and George look in the tiny pool. There are small plants. "There's a gold coin," says Peppa. "Ooh," says George. "Something is making bubbles. What could it be?" "A fish," says Peppa. "Hello, fish. You would love my fish, Goldie." Vacation is nearly over. Time to pack the suitcase and get back in the car. It's a long drive home, but Peppa has Teddy to keep her company in the backseat. She has George too. It has been a great vacation, but she can't wait to see Goldie. Mummy Pig gives Granny Pig her present. Peppa runs to see Goldie. "Oh, you've grown," she says. "A lot." "She seemed hungry," said Grandpa Pig. Mr. Zebra arrives. "I have postcard all the way from the beach," he said. "Look, Goldie," says Peppa. "You've got mail. Something from our great vacation." The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Pizza Party. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link in the description down below. It is lunchtime at Peppa's house. "Can we make pizzas?" Peppa asks. George loves pizza, so do Mummy and Daddy Pig. Peppa is excited to start, but first, everyone must wash their hands. They use soap and water to get all clean. When they are done washing, they gather ingredients. "To make our pizzas," Daddy Pig says, "we need flour, tomato," chimes in Mummy Pig. "Cheese," continues Daddy Pig, "and toppings." But wait, there's something missing. "George likes pineapple on his pizza," Peppa says. "Pineapple?" Daddy Pig retreats. "On pizza? I think that's against the law." Peppa laughs. Daddy Pig is being silly. It is not against the law to put pineapple on pizza. Now it's time to make the pizzas. Mummy Pig puts the flour into a bowl. Then she adds water. This mixture will become a pizza dough. Tasty! Mummy Pig sprinkles a little flour on the table so that the dough doesn't stick. Then, with their clean hands, Peppa and George knead the dough. "I am big and strong," Peppa says. "And George is big and strong too." Next, they make the dough into 4 balls. These will become 4 pizza pies. Mummy Pig rolls the dough balls flat with a rolling pin. "Oh," says Peppa, "they look like the pizzas now." Mummy and Daddy Pig make a sauce with the tomatoes. Then Peppa and George smooth it over the dough. "I like making pizzas," Peppa says. "It's so fun." Now it's time to decorate the pizzas. "Can we make happy faces on top?" Peppa asks. "Of course we can," replies Daddy Pig. "I'll use mushrooms to make eyes and olives for the smile." "And I'll use onions for the eyes and basils for the smile," says Mummy Pig. Peppa uses sweet corn for the smile and little tomato for his eyes. George has a pineapple for the eyes and cheese for the smile. Mummy Pig puts on her oven mitts, then she places the pizzas in the oven to bake. When the pizzas are done, Peppa, George, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig eat in the garden. Their pizzas are very good. "They are the best pizzas in the world," says Peppa Pig. Peppa loves pizza. Everyone loves pizza. The end. Peppa Pig. George catches a cold. And if you'd like to buy this book, check in the link description down below. Mummy Pig says Peppa and George can play in the rain, but they must wear their rain clothes to keep dry. But George hates wearing his rain hat, so he has thrown it into the muddy puddle. Peppa knows that it is not a good idea.
Come inside, children,
calls Daddy Pig.
It's raining too hard now.
Where's your hat, George? Asks Mummy Pig. Achoo! Replies George. Oh dear, George has caught a cold. Achoo! George cannot stop sneezing. Poor little George, says Mummy Pig. You don't look very well.
Don't worry, I'll call Dr. Brown Bear,
says Daddy Pig. Will George go to the hospital? Asks Peppa.
No, George has to go to bed,
replies Daddy. So George is not truly sick then? Says Peppa, disappointed.
George, you have to stay in bed until you are better,
says Daddy Pig.
Why?
Asks George.
Because you have to keep warm,
says Daddy Pig. Dr. Brown Bear is here to see George. Open wide and say, "Ah," he says. George is a little afraid of Dr. Brown Bear. He hides under his sheets with Mr. Dinosaur. Dr. Brown Bear asks Peppa to show George that he does not have to be scared. "Ah," says Peppa. George laughs and comes up from under his sheets. He opens his mouth so Dr. Brown Bear can look. "Ah," says George.
George has caught a cold, Dr. Brown Bear tells Mummy Pig. You can have some warm milk at bedtime to help him sleep.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Bear, says Mummy Pig.
You're welcome. Goodbye, says Dr. Brown Bear before driving off in a special white car.
The next morning, George wakes up early. The warm milk made him sleep very well. Roar, cries George, waking up Peppa. He is feeling much better. It's a lovely sunny day, but George is wearing his rain hat. He doesn't want to catch another cold. Oh, George, you don't need to wear your hat when it's warm and sunny, Mummy Pig tells him. Everyone laughs. George never goes in the rain without his hat again. The end.